Hello, Monday. It is coming at you live here at Inside Production Studios in Phoenix, Arizona. My name is Robert Morales, and I'm with my esteemed co-host today. If I could just show you real quick, Miss Ashley Miller. Hi.
Hey, guys.
So we're coming at you live here, like I said, at Inside Production Studios for our Monday Market 15, the only 15-minute show that takes about 30 minutes. So bringing you the most up-to-date information about the Phoenix market. Go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead and you have something you want to say?
Oh, gosh. I have something to say. I'm a little spicy today. I'm super excited to talk about a few of the things that we're discussing today. We had a little discussion this morning on what we thought was going to be important, and I decided what I wanted to talk about, which was extremely important to me, which is what's happening in our metropolitan area. In the real estate world, how it's affecting us, not only in real estate, but as families, as entrepreneurs, business owners. So,
yeah, that's just to give you a little preview of what we're going to be talking about today. But if you want to go ahead and hit that like button on Facebook because you like what you're seeing, and you hit those loves because you just love us. We love the loves, And Ashley really likes those loves. So.
I do.
Those heart emojis really work. And if you're on YouTube right now, hit that subscribe button just because your thumbs need a little preoccupation with something to do. So. We're here talking about the Phoenix market, kind of what's happening now and in the now. And I think one of the topics we wanted to talk about today was
gentrification.
Oh, holy moly.
Can you use it in a sentence?
No.
Spell it, please.
Gentrification
has been such a huge thing. I've been discussing more recently than ever. And at first I was like, what does this mean? I actually Googled it, which to make you seem like I'm ignorant, but I did Google it. I first saw it on a TV series called Shameless.
Yeah. And
they wrote gentrification with graffiti all over this building. I was like, what is that? I didn't want to ask anybody because I didn't want to sound dumb. But if you guys don't know, it's where you take, poor urban areas, and the areas are changed by wealthier people that are coming in, and whether they're buying up, they're beautifying it, and they're changing the trajectory of that neighborhood. And that's something I have done recently. So can I keep talking? Can I just keep talking and talking?
Maybe. I know it depends. I know you're full of words.
I am. So, one of the areas that gentrification, what comes to mind immediately is where I just recently bought a house, 85032 in North Phoenix, which is where I grew up. And I actually bought a house. Yeah. So my first house I bought was an 85032. My second house I just bought, not my second house, but my second house in 85032. And I'm noticing that there's a huge wave of people moving out or being forced or pushed out based upon what's happening in our economy. And we're coming in. And we are doing things like remodeling the properties, bringing up the value, which is it a good thing? That's the question.
Yeah, and I think people deserve a little bit of insight on who you are too, because you're new to the show, right?
Oh yeah, do you guys want to know who I am?
I know who you are. They don't know who you are. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, Ashley? Because this is a very important topic, I believe, and we just need to know a little bit more about you.
So a little bit about my background. I'm born and raised in Arizona. I work for a title company. I worked for 2 title companies. My second one, I've been in the industry for 13 years. 13 years, almost 14 years.
Been around a long time for looking 20 years old.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The glasses.
So I've also in a self-proclaimed entrepreneur, whether it comes to doing some investing, doing some other things on the side. So the economy definitely affects I have a bridal business too, outside of real estate. And the economy's really affected that. And I don't know what else. I work with agents and lenders all day long. So my whole job is to focus on the market and what's happening and really creating different opportunities to showcase what's happening. I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah, and when I first met you, you were in title work. You were helping agents out, with their marketing, and then I think in part 2, discovering who they are. I mean, that's been a huge thing we've talked about quite a number of times before. It's like discovering and pursuing your own dreams and desires and having it manifest into this market. But before we go off to another tangent. We were talking about gentrification. I just wanted everybody to kind of know who you were too and understand where you're coming from. So
that kind of plays into what I was going to say. So
yes, go ahead.
Going back to your roots, and I think that COVID kind of allowed us, this whole thing that's happening in our economy, allowed a lot of us to sit back and take a look. I mean, here I am wearing a holy t-shirt, hat backwards, and my glasses on. Do you think that 2 years ago that I would have walked out of the house like this? Heck no, I wouldn't have. And I look like a bum. But the point is, it's like, that doesn't change who I am on the inside. And I wanted to go back to my roots. When I made a decision that I wanted to buy a house, I decided that, and forgive me for saying this, and I feel like a terrible mom. My youngest son said, "Why are we moving to the ghetto?" And I said, because I grew up in the ghetto. But it's not the ghetto. It's 85032. It's Paradise Valley Mall. It's North Phoenix. I mean, it's minutes away from Desert Ridge. It's just an older neighborhood.
That's a really nice ghetto.
Right? And that's my fault for raising my kids in Scottsdale. But we are taking these urban areas that are older homes, from like the 1960s, 1970s, and we're coming in and we're buying them and we're beautifying them. And is it pushing out people? I don't know. That's what we were talking about. Like, is it? I don't feel like I forced anybody out of the house. The seller had some renters that had really damaged the property, and I knew that I wanted to live in that area. I knew I wanted to go back to my roots and kind of rediscover who I was since this past year. I think that's what we've all been doing. And went in and I gutted the house and I put my own personality into it, and it is increasing the value of the homes in that area. And believe me, I plan on keep doing it. My first house, this will be my first house that I've completely gutted and remodeled, and I'm kind of addicted.
Well, I mean, is it really gentrification when you have investors come in, they want to kind of establish or rechange things in an area?
Well, that's a controversy that we're going to be facing. So we have a lot of people from out of state that are coming in that have funds to buy up our properties at a low value, put their money in, and resell them at a higher value. Yeah. Is it their fault that the prices are increasing rapidly? I mean, we're at 20% now than we were last year in increase in property values, which is awesome. I'm super stoked about it. But it really sucked when I was looking for a house.
Yeah, I think the number of buyers that I help out, I mean, it really puts them in a situation where if they don't have a large down payment, if they don't have extra funds, I mean, if they're not pulling from their 401k, which, it's probably not advisable to anybody to do. But
we are not financial advisors.
Yeah, there is a comment below. We're not financial advisors. So if you listen to us, you're going to lose all your money. So, but it does impact somebody when they're putting in an offer. They're just an average buyer and they want to go and buy a house and they can't. It's
caused a lot of frustration. So this is actually, I'm going to tell a little bit of my story of how it came in. I'm going back to my old roots. So these houses are 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. Yeah. And I needed a 4-bedroom. I have my 3 boys and myself, and I wanted 3 bathrooms, and that didn't exist. It didn't exist in my price range. So I made a phone call to an investor, friend of mine, and I said, hey, I can't afford the home that I want. Not only the home that I want, the home that I need in the school district I need for my kids and the size that I need. What would it take for you to come in and purchase this property and
for you?
Purchase it for me, allow me to use some of their funds and some of my funds to remodel it to suit my family, and then turn around and sell it back to me at a price I can afford. Yeah. So he said, okay, Ash, if I buy it at this, here's your budget. You can put about $50,000 into it, and I'll sell it to you at this price. And I said, oh, my gosh, that would be so amazing. So we have to start thinking outside of the box, because you buyers, we're getting, I got outbid at every single property by $25,000. I don't have $25,000 sitting in my bank account. I'm a single mom. And I work in title. So, I mean, you can imagine. But I had to start really thinking, if I want what I want, how am I going to get there? And as an agent yourself, I'm sure you're feeling the sorrow and the frustration and empathizing for your clients.
Well, it does suck. I mean, when I'm going out there and you really you're putting out an offer, mm-hmm. and you put your best foot forward, you're trying to put together a contract in the best situation for that client, for their budget and what they have. And then well, one after another, just no, we pick somebody else, pick somebody else, pick somebody else, pick somebody else. And I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the listing side and the purchase side. So like we just accepted an offer today. It was just an all cash.
Right.
You know, and no appraisal, no contingency, take it as it is. And
ooh.
Me on the listing side, it's like, how do I not take that for my client because that's what's in their interest? Look, I'm getting
She's
excited getting out of her seat.
Okay. So,
boy.
you know, with no appraisal, no inspection, cash buyer. Ooh, those words just, they make my skin crawl because
I know.
we are, what's happening right now with, you know, the integrity of sellers and the rules and regulations that we should abide by in real estate are being overlooked. That's not fair.
But I mean, it's hard for a regulatory body to come in when it's between two sets of parties, you know. And
I know.
You know, what role does the state have to play when, you know, one client prefers one, you know, purchaser over another?
But there's a system, and you know, and I'm a self-proclaimed rule breaker, 100%. Like I would rather ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. However, it's really affecting how an average. I should never use the word average.
Antsy. Look at
that
she's getting out of her chair.
The traditional buyers, you know, mom, dad, or you know, couple, are trying to go in and purchase a home the traditional way. They're not really having the full capability of doing it because we are having so many cash buyers come in and just say, "Here's your money. Don't care. Give me the papers. Done." And they're missing out on these opportunities, and all they want is just to purchase a home.
Yeah, and I think that's the goal for most people. And the saddest part about today's environment is that your regular person, your regular buyer who just, you know, was able to scrounge around for 5% down, 3.5% down, is facing the challenge of having somebody who's putting down $100,000 down, $200,000 in cash to offset any appraisal. And then they're waiving appraisal too, which is just crazy to me.
That part makes me so frustrated. We need to know the value of homes.
Yeah.
It's not fair. It's not fair.
Well, it's just crazy. So if you're logging in right now on Facebook or on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit those likes, get those loves.
Yes, and we will be taking questions as well.
We'll be taking questions live here on Facebook. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in that comment section. But my name is Rob Morales from RCO Network and Agent HomeSmart. I'm also here with my lovely co-host and esteemed partner, Miss Ashley Miller. From, are we mentioning the title?
Great American Title.
Great American Title.
There we go. We can, yeah.
So, but we're here taking questions. So if you guys want to, again, put those comments in, we'll answer them as we go along. Talking about gentrification a little bit, talking about how these investors are coming in and changing really our Phoenix market. If you watch, and I think, I don't know if you watch a lot of news reports or anything. This is really happening in a lot of markets.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very few that aren't. I mean, California, Texas,
even Virginia, like Myrtle Beach,
Denver, everywhere is just is saturated with these very well-off buyers. I guess investors maybe. I don't know. I mean, I did kind of like a little pseudo market research. I was like I pulled a subdivision because there was a woman that basically said, I got all these investors coming in and buying all these houses. And I'm like, I don't know if they're all investors necessarily. And when I actually did pull some of the data, I actually pulled and saw who was purchasing the houses of record. I didn't see a whole lot of investors. I maybe saw 1 out of 20 or so, And so I can't really say for certain that it is entirely investors coming in buying houses.
No. I'll agree with you.
Yeah. So, but I do think it's a lot of people who are coming from out of state.
Out of state. Yeah.
With large sums of money, or at least larger sums of money, selling off their house, perhaps in California. I know California's
maybe California.
I mean, this is the closest thing. So I mean, they get a lot of the blame, but I mean, they're coming in with selling off their their home out there, probably cashing out one.
Well, they're making financially educational decisions for themselves. I mean, look at a house out here that's $400,000. Versus a house in California that's $400,000.
Yeah. What do you get?
I can't say that I wouldn't do the same thing.
Yeah.
I can't say that I wouldn't sell my $1 million home and move to Arizona and buy the same house, if not bigger, and still have cash in my pocket.
Do you have $1 million home in California, Ashley?
No.
Why not? We need to buy you one.
I will get one. Yeah, I'm going to work on that.
So Paula had a question here. I have a question about her comment. What did the investor get out of the house when he bought the house? And when he bought, I can't read it. You're supposed to be reading.
I can't see it actually.
Oh,
I'm on there, but I can't see it.
Paula?
So, what did the investor get out of the house? I got nothing on my end, dude.
Oh, he bought the house for her, then sold it to her when she could afford. What did the name gain? Oh.
Okay, so I'll explain the process.
Paula, I got to ask a better question.
Since Robert can't,
I can't read. I'm trying to
read at the same time.
I don't know.
What we did was I actually kind of searched the area myself.
Yeah.
And I know, and I'm probably going to upset some agents, but I did look on Zillow. I know that sometimes some agents' arch nemesis. I looked on Zillow. I found this house. I drove by it. I called the investor, and I said, hey, can we go tour this together? We walked through it. We brought in a contractor with us, and the contractor went through, got in the attic, made sure like the trusses were okay, air conditioning, all the major expenses, and said, okay, it's probably going to be about 40 to 50.
Yeah.
Well, based upon what I could afford, that made sense. So then I talked to my lender and I said, hey, this is the situation. This is what we're going to do. And they said, okay, that's perfectly fine. So I was capable of designing the entire house myself. I knew exactly what I was going to pay for it. Did we go over budget a little bit, like $5,000? Yeah, we did. Yeah. So I paid out of my pocket, but I knew that. I knew we were going to. So I prepared myself for that. And this is a great way to do it. So if somebody is in a situation kind of like where I was, where I couldn't find a house, but I found a dilapidated house in the neighborhood I wanted, but I didn't have the cash funds up front. I didn't have $50,000 up front. It's a great way to purchase. It's almost like you're doing your own custom build. So it's not the easiest way. You do have to have a little bit of insight. And I'm so beyond grateful. You have no idea that I do work in this industry and I did have the opportunity to have the connections I do. However, if Paula herself or somebody she knows is looking for that same opportunity, I do work with a lot of investors that are willing to do the same thing they did for me as well.
Yeah, I've known Paula for a while, so she can reach out to you, right?
Yeah,
she works for a bank, I think, right, Paula? You can fill that in if you need to. So we were talking a little bit. Again, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and hit the like button because, you want to keep your thumb warm, occupied, busy, whatever you need to. Hit that little, if you love what you're seeing, hit that little love button because we like that too. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button because, what else are you going to watch? You're going to miss Ashley. Ashley is a very unique person. So if you have comments or questions, go ahead and put those underneath. But we were talking a little bit about gentrification. And then basically we were also talking about family. And how the dynamics of our current environment is really changing our family structure, right? So when people go out there and make purchases on homes, lately it hasn't been because it's been thinking about the school district. It hasn't been because I like the area. It's like, oh, shit, I got an offer on this house that I could afford. I'm just going to throw all my money in there because I got it accepted and not really think about everything else. And I've seen a lot of articles like that too, have buyer's remorse with houses, waiving inspections, waiving appraisal. Then all of a sudden they walk into the house and like, what the hell did I do? And I think the statistic from one of the sources I saw was like 55% of people who bought a house were like have buyer's remorse.
They do.
Because of that.
I'm so glad you brought that up. My girlfriend, Lene, specifically, had purchased a home. Yeah. And shortly she waived the inspection just so she could get it. Yeah. And she's a single mom of a high schooler. And I see a picture on Facebook of her son like digging in the front yard because pipes were broken, house is flooded. She goes, oh my gosh, who said home ownership was like one of the most monumental moments in your life? I go, well, monumental moment wasn't really defined as the best moment. It was just defined as a monumental moment. No. And so making that decision is really challenging. And I thought about that too because, my oldest is about to go to college in less than 3 years now, right? And so finding, again, reiterating what I said before, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath was going to be challenging. So I'm like, well, do I sacrifice? And again, kids are so spoiled. I mean, they don't share rooms anymore. Everyone has their own room, their own thing. I'm like, well, do I sacrifice them sharing a room And because I know he's going to be gone. And then once he's gone, the other two boys will have their own room. And I thought to myself, no, I want his last 3 years at home, his experience to be so amazing. And I want to build our future and our family together and have a home that he can come home to when he comes home from the military. So that's when I made a decision to start reaching out. So making a decision on your family planning, I almost did buy a house. And I backed out because I started thinking about it wasn't in the school district. So I'd had to drive the kids to school every day. And it was just, it didn't really financially it made sense, but time is money. And started calculating how much time would it take me to drive them every single day? How much time away from work would it take me to drive them? Even through COVID, my kids are going to school.
Well, I think that's one of those after effects too, like people that bought out in the suburbs and a year ago maybe or 9 months ago when everything was being cast through Zoom or online. That wasn't something you thought about. But now, as businesses are like, hey, you got to get back to work, as schools are like, hey, you got to get back to school.
Right.
There's a whole other things we didn't think about that was so easy 6-9 months ago. Now it's not doing so. Right?
Well, and family planning as well, as far as like, upgrading your house.
No.
So do you try to build onto your house and stay where you are if you're allowed to, minus HOA, which I always suggest don't buy an HOA. Like, honestly, I totally do. And I know that sounds so weird.
It keeps the houses nice.
I'm sure of it, but also it limits you to what you can actually do. Like, I can do whatever I want to my house, and I think it's amazing. Thank goodness none of my neighbors have done anything crazy.
I can only imagine when it's at your house. Is it pink? Is it that purple house I posted?
No. Oh, my gosh. Those houses drive me crazy. So the, family planning, like families who want to have another baby, but maybe they just don't have the space for it.
No.
Are they making a decision to not have another child because they are not able to afford another house? Or I don't know in that case. I'm curious, you guys, you can go on there. Like I said, we're taking questions. We're live. Has that affected your decision to expand your family? Has the housing market affected that?
That is the question of the day.
I think that's a great question. I'm never having any more kids ever.
Why not?
So it's never. I'm
How many do you have?
old.
Three?
Three boys.
Yeah, that's a lot of boys for being 20 years old.
Oh yeah, I know.
That's crazy. It's amazing.
Young. Started young.
So I mean, again, as we're talking a little bit more about this housing market, we want to be very real. We want to be very upfront about the things that we do. There's so many things in this market that are out there to consider, and we hate you guys spending your money in the wrong ways. Ashley here is from Great American Title. She's very astute today. She's got her glasses. Astute. She's bringing the information there to bring to you live here amongst us all. But again, if you like what you're seeing, go ahead and hit those like buttons because we like the loves.
We like to be loved.
So the last thing we wanted to kind of hit upon was really, is there a bubble? Do you think there's a bubble?
Gosh, no.
Why not?
I don't think there's a bubble. I don't think we are going to see what we saw in 2008. I don't think that's going to happen because we are growing rapidly. I mean, think about the way that Arizona's growing. We're growing out. I mean, we've got the 303 now and the 202 is connected to it. We're going to continuously keep growing out and up. I think we're going to become the next California. Our prices are just going to keep steady and continuously increase.
Well, then I want my beach house.
I know, we need to go buy. Well, now all the California guys are coming here, so now we can go there.
That's true.
And buy there. So we're going to swap.
I could buy their $2 million houses.
Right. So I truly don't think, I think we will level out. Will we have some up and downs? Yeah, of course we will. I mean, we're always on a 7-year cycle. I don't know if you've ever watched it. It's like 7 years up and then we go down. But I think we're going to continuously go up, maybe down a little bit, and then up, and then maybe down and then up.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing with like any kind of opinion or perspective. They're always different. They're always like, I feel at the end of the day, we're in a bubble. Okay. The question really is the bubble going to burst? That's really what people are kind of hanging their hat on or concerned about, because yes, very much so. There is a 7 to 8 year cycle regarding any kind of market, whether it's housing, stock market, whatever kind of market you got, and oh yeah, I know. Don't look at my stocks. But anyway, there's always a 7 to 8 year cycle regarding any of this stuff, and we should have had that correction roughly about 4 years ago. Should have, but because when COVID first hit, that's when we thought the correction was going to happen, but that wasn't the case because of government intervention. I think that has increased their prices and increased this environment and created this really FOMO like environment where people are just going and making offers like if they were millionaires and just cashing out on their investments. And is that a smart investment strategy? Possibly.
I think back in the early 1970s, it was great. Yeah. I mean, growing up my household home was paid off. That was their retirement. That was their investment. Yeah. I don't know. I think that, and again, this is just my personal opinion, talking to financial advisors prior to making that major decision. I love how you said FOMO, fear of missing out, because that can hit you hard, and then you become like OCD, obsessive compulsive, like with purchasing a home because you're afraid you're going to miss out. I mean, what are you missing out on staying where you are?
I don't know.
I mean, and if you're renting, yes, rents are going up, so that is a challenge. There's so many things to consider. I say get a piece of paper, a pencil, a financial advisor, and just start marking out the numbers and really making an educated decision. And if anybody does have any questions, like I said, on thinking outside the box, this is why I've been in marketing for so long, is I'm always finding ways to figure out how to make magic happen every day. Did I really think that I would have this type of opportunity to do what I did? No. Am I beyond grateful? Yes. Has it really created some fire underneath me to want to educate others that this is very possible? Because once I talked to my investor, he's like, oh, yeah, I do this all the time. How would I have known? Because it's not like he's not out there publicizing this. Yeah. And so then that started getting the ball rolling of asking other investors, like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? They're like, absolutely, if this situation arises. I just helped close a deal on an $800,000 house on the golf course. This investor and I were golfing. There's a group of us, and he's like, do you know anybody who wants to buy an 85254? I'm like, what's the price range? He's like, 800,000. I'm like, my friend has been looking in that area for 3 months and outbid on everything. He's like, all right. Have him come in. He can buy it. I'll customize. Haven't started construction on the inside. I'll customize it exactly the way he wants. Sign a contract the next day.
I know it's an amazing thing, and I think the big takeaway too is that the more you're out there and you connect with people in the industry, people like yourself, Ashley.
But what if they're not in the industry? How do they have the opportunity? So having that when you're not in the industry, I think the opportunity presents itself when you become vulnerable and you start talking about your situation. And that's scary. Talking about your finances. Like, hey, you know what, guys? I could only afford $380,000. That was it. Yeah. Can you find an area I want to live in that price range with 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, with a backyard and a pool? No. But I found it because I created it.
Yeah, and I think the bigger takeaways and the things to really account for is be connected with people who know. Yeah. And if you have questions or you're concerned about your situation, just ask. Ask people that you feel confident or comfortable with, including Ashley. Ashley's here. She knows a lot of people. She's very wealthy. She's very astute today.
And using agents, like yourself to do some recon for you. Yeah. And it's calling you and saying, hey, this is a situation we keep getting bidded out. Like, let's turn a different direction. Because you're not eliminating the agent in this situation. Agents are still involved. You're just kind of backdooring it in a sense. So reaching out to, your local agent like Robert. Hello. And having him do a little research, finding some homes that might be what we call dilapidated.
Perhaps.
It might not be that perfect, shiny house that you see on Pinterest. But you can create that.
And I will say, like, the first year agent of me would have not known what flips are and what to look out for.
Yeah, you need a seasoned agent like you.
And 8 years now. I'll be 8 years in November. And there was a couple years where we did flips and stuff. And having kind of a working knowledge of what costs will be, like I said, we just sold this investment home. And there's roughly about $10,000 worth of electrical work that needs to be done.
Ooh,
and there's probably another $10,000 to $15,000 just in plumbing work. And when you approach that, and when you have an investor or somebody, a buyer looking at purchasing that, you can automatically put those costs in there as far as your offer price and negotiate that first up. Is that a good investment for you? Is that a good value for you?
I have a question for you as an agent. Okay.
Shiznets.
So I'm a buyer. You take me out and I'm like, you know what, Robert, I really want this house. I'm willing to waive the appraisal and waive the inspection. Would you or would you not suggest that I pay out of my pocket to get my own inspection outside of escrow? And is that even possible?
To do an inspection outside of escrow?
Could I bring my contractor that day to go look at the house with you?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's absolutely you can bring whoever it is you feel you need to. Like I said, with myself, I know I have a little bit working knowledge. Not that you want to rely on me, because my function as an agent is really only to facilitate a contract.
Right.
My knowledge should not be relied upon as far as like knowing costs, knowing the details of a house, the construction. I mean, there's so many agents out there that'll say, you know, I do this all the time. This is one of them brick homes, and
don't knock a brick home. I just bought one.
This foundation is quite adequate for the purchase, so go ahead and buy this home, put a contract. I
love your voiceovers.
Oh,
they're so cute.
So do not rely on an agent to tell you, hey, this is a good buy or not a good buy.
But would you? So this would just be my opinion. If I were an agent, I think that at this point, if they're like, okay, now you know that you got to waive the appraisal, you got to waive the inspection. It's like, ugh, you got to offer over. Like, it's just exhausting even thinking about it or talking about. Bring your contractor, your brother, whoever knows the knowledge in that, bring him with you to go look at the house.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You can do that, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Why not?
You can do it prior to, I mean, there's so many things to take into account where if you submit a contract, you have 10 days to inspect. The challenge,
but if you waive if they're waiving, everyone wants a waived inspection, how do you, I guess my question, let me reiterate. If we know that homes right now, everyone's waiving everything, like bye. That was my suggestion. If we know that that's going to be the best way to purchase the house, my suggestion as a non-agent, asking an agent, would that be a value add to going and seeing a house, and to bring an inspector or somebody with you that has knowledge in construction?
I will say in aggregate that waiving inspections, waiving appraisals will catch the eye of the person selling the house, the listing agent. I mean, that's a very attractive offer when you waive those things, because that just means more money in their pocket.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm not an advisor. I'm not telling you what to do, but is it necessarily advisable to do that? I mean, it depends.
I don't agree with it. Period.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, so personally, this is I'm in the housing market. I'm looking for a home to purchase for myself. I saw a year-old home. And when I submitted the contract to purchase that home, I waived the inspection, because there really shouldn't be that much, aggregately wrong with the house in a year.
Right.
Will I still do inspections? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And will I still walk away if I need to? Yes. But I also know what the ramifications of doing that are. Yeah. That means possibly losing my earnest money. And this is on my personal deal. This isn't an advisement on any. This is not consumer financial advice. So do not listen to me, because you'll lose all your money. But really, when I submitted that offer for myself, I waived the inspection because I felt fairly confident that the house was going to have like egregiously horrible things wrong with it. Maybe a broken tile here and there, little stuff. But, like in that investment home that I just put in contract today, that was from 1968. Mm-hmm. And is there a potential? There's a slew of different things that are completely wrong with it. Would I personally waive inspection on that? Absolutely not.
No. And
would I waive the appraisal? Absolutely not.
Right.
But that's me personally. The person that made the offer did all that, and I don't represent that buyer. So, that was what is in that person's best interest. But would I say do that? No, not for myself. No.
Yeah. No, 100%. I wouldn't.
Oh,
but that seems to be like the topic of everything. Well, I can only buy this house if I pay cash over, and if I waive the appraisal and waive the inspection. Walk away. And that's just my opinion. That's scary to me.
Yeah, and every offer that I've made, again, I'm buying my own home.
Yeah.
And every offer that I've made, I think we've been beat out by people waiving appraisals,
I know,
waiving
I
inspections.
know.
And it's unfortunate, and it's causing a rift, and there'll be some sort of backlash from it, whether it's the market backlash, whether it's, people like screaming at their agent, why'd you let me buy this house? Why
I
did
know.
you
Well, you don't want people to be pissed off at you.
Well, as long as they know what they're getting into, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, is if they and understand the risks that are involved in all that, that's really up to.
That goes on. I don't know how much more time we have, but that goes on to.
We have zero time.
I'll end this on a.
We'll wrap up with this.
A little note. So education, educate yourself.
Yeah.
So don't always rely on your agent, not being you specifically, but a lot of times people are like, oh, my sister's an agent.
Yeah.
She got her license, but she's also a full-time
nanny or
whatever teacher. I was gonna say teacher. You said nanny. That's funny. Do your own recon right now. Look up what's happening in the neighborhood. One of the things that Robert and I talked about multiple times is what's happening in the area. Like I bought by PV Mall, which is being torn down, which makes me so sad. It like breaks my heart because that's where I grew up as a little kid, and I was a little mall rat. But what I do know, really weird. What I do know is that area is going to increase because of what they're doing in that area.
Yeah.
So understanding your surroundings and where you're purchasing and the value add it's going to have in the future is really important. And don't just use your cousin, your sister, your so-and-so just because they're going to give you a discount. A discount doesn't always mean a discount in the long run.
Correct. Yeah. And so
that's
many
really
times.
important.
So many times that I have a buyer that just does an inspection, a general inspection, and they decide to purchase a home after that, and they don't do any further investigation. I don't like that, especially if we're seeing things that are a little bit questionable. It's always to get that extra added inspection. For so many times you'll have an agent that really doesn't care about you or your situation. They'll say, hey, just get an inspector out there. And they'll do a general inspection, but they won't investigate further.
Yeah, and I'm not discounting agents, but my point is understanding, doing your own recon, hiring an agent that understands the area and what's happening there. That is your advocate. That's there for you. That's really important to me. And with anything, I would tell anybody that is together. You guys are a team. And hire the right person. Like, I'm sure all of your clients, you guys have a relationship. It is a relationship. You're making one of the most monumental decisions, or one of the largest financial decisions besides sending your kids to college in your life. I mean, it really is. So you don't, if an agent comes in and says, well, I'll do this for next to nothing, but they don't have any knowledge, that's probably not the right person. And then Robert comes in and says, well, I have all the knowledge, but I'm going to charge you full price. You should probably pick Robert.
Well,
it's super important.
That wasn't a plug, but I will take it.
No, but it is. It's proving the point that there's so many things that are changing in our economy right now, and you need to make sure that you have the right people on your team, because you don't want to have regrets. Correct. Regrets. You know how they spell it backward? They spell it wrong sometimes. That's a regret. You don't want to have regrets.
Regrets.
You want to make sure that you're making the best financial decision for yourself. And again, title, I myself am not a financial advisor. Robert's not a financial advisor. However, we've been through this, and we've been in this industry long enough to know and to educate people on what makes sense. So.
And it's painful to see people make decisions and not get what they wanted. And really, when they're buying a house, they're buying their dream. And not being able to continue that to the life of what they own. Uh-oh.
No, go ahead. I just put my finger up to remember my thought.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll say it up because it's already the 3 o'clock hour.
All right, we're going to wrap it up.
We must be wrapping up now.
You are not buying a house. Yeah. You are buying a home.
Correct. So with that said, that's very prophetic and your very astuteness. Miss Ashley Miller from Arizona. Great American Time.
I am from Arizona.
She is from Arizona. Rob Morales, HomeSmart, and Our CEO Network. We'll be seeing you guys next week, right? We're back at the 2 o'clock hour, sharing our ideas.
I can come back.
I said we.
Oh, okay.
It's we. It's you and me.
You and I?
Well, Me turn the M over, it's we.
Oh, that was cute.
Oh boy. But anyway, Rob Morales, Ashley Miller. We'll be seeing you next week at the 2:00 hour. So go ahead and log in. If you liked what you're seeing, please make those comments. We're going to answer those questions next week.
And you can continue, to put comments in there, ask questions, and we could answer them next week if we want to.
Absolutely. So signing off, Robert Morales, Ashley Miller.
We'll see you.
Thank you, dear. We'll see
Bye.
you. We'll be seeing you next time.